So yes, I'm Jennifer Dickson, co-founder and chief design officer at Acre. And we build beautiful zero-energy smart homes that produce all their own power. The fundamental reason behind our founding is that we believe that as people's biggest purchase, housing should be so much more sustainable, more affordable, and just generally more inspired. And there are a lot of impediments to that, and so we're tackling this great big problem. But it's possible to get to more sustainable, affordable, and inspired housing by solving, we see, three key problems: how homes are built, how they're powered, and how they're purchased. So Acre homes are built with advanced technologies and materials, powered completely on their own rooftops, and purchased like a modern consumer product should be, from your couch. We're dealing with a really difficult industry. So part of the problem is, it's a thousands of year old industry, the construction industry. It's actually the only industry that's lost productivity in the last 50 years. So since the advent of computers, the construction industry's productivity has fallen by half. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Builders are highly challenged in today's climate. There's a lot of complexity to what's going on, and most builders are 6 or fewer employees. It's sort of a mom and pop business. They're not keeping up with technology, and they're not able to disseminate change throughout their company. And so we're here to resolve that, because that broken industry, it's what's defining everyone's biggest purchase, and that's why it's not advancing. So our product is the complete turnkey, there's that word, turnkey smart home. We offer currently 2 different models. Our 2-story is called our Series A. Single story is our Series B. We have 10 different floor plans, multiple accessory dwelling units or ADUs, and garages for all of this. Starting at $425,000 for the entire built, furnished home. That's exclusive of land costs, but that's highly competitive in this market. So by way of comparison, homes up in the North Bay right now where they're rebuilding are $450, $500 a square foot. Our first project just came back in at $291 a square foot. So it's working and it's impactful for people, and that's what we're after. This is our current project being built in Lone Pine, California, which is just over the Sierras. That's looking at Mount Whitney, which is the tallest mountain in the lower 48. And this site has a lot of special meaning to us. We're huge fans of this owner. He even lent us his daughter to do a video that I want to share with you. This was done with a couple of my buddies from architecture school. Hopefully the sound's going to work for you.
Tomorrow comes into us at midnight very clean. It's perfect when it arrives, and it puts itself in our hands. So are you afraid, or are you ready to go?
I'm not afraid of tomorrow. I'm not afraid to be a leader. I'm building a house, and it's going to be different. The earth gives us lots of things. We can use them to build our home. I hate pollution. They should make power out of good things. People leave behind lots of junk. I will leave behind nothing. I read that we can make energy from windmills and the sun. I'll make my house work this way.
Tomorrow hopes we've learned something from yesterday. A new frontier awaits.
I don't want to kill a whole forest for my house. I want to climb this tree forever. We need more light. We need more sunshine for reals. Most people don't know it, but the earth is alive too. Do you ever think it gets tired? Cleaning is boring, Mom. More fun time, please. My home will touch the earth as softly as I do.
Tomorrow is the most important thing in life. Now, are you a coward or are you a pioneer?
I'm a pioneer, and this is my home.
So I want to share that with you because I think that's a pretty unique way of looking at a house. And it shows you the way that we approach not just designing a home, but also changing the way homes are delivered and what it means to people. And that's some of what I want to talk about today, because I don't anticipate that most of you are building homes as products. But I want to share lessons from our journey so far that can be applied to whatever it is that you're working toward on design. If I can get out of this loop. And I think lesson one is you have to think big. There's some problems that are so big that the only way to get through them or to solve them is to make them bigger. And this is one of those problems. So, it would have been pretty simple lifestyle business for us to stay in Kansas City and just build better homes. They would have been more expensive than standard homes, and they wouldn't have made a very big impact on the environment. And we may have made ends meet, or we may not have, because builders may or may not have been motivated to work with our system. And that's kind of where we started. I was an architect for 12 years before we launched, and so I was in that sort of daily grind of just trying to do better projects, but always getting VE'd or value engineered, and always running up against the contractor having the power because they held the budget. Or owners who were too afraid to take a big risk because they were dealing with their company's money, or they just didn't see the vision. And I think that completely changing housing is one of those problems that you can only solve by going bigger. So we really dismantled the way homes are built from the ground up, like tore that thing down past the foundations, literally, and decided to go about it from a completely different set of materials, different distribution network, different sales model, and different expectations for performance. We originally thought, we can do a pretty environmentally responsible home. But what we realized when we took everything down to the foundations was we could actually do a completely net zero home. And when that becomes possible, that is our responsibility to do. So on the whole, every Acre home every year keeps 24 tons of CO2 out of the atmosphere, saves 43,000 gallons of water, and keeps 7,000 pounds of landfill waste, of construction waste out of the landfill. And the other thing that we could have done is raised our prices because this is a pretty compelling product. But instead, it's our goal to make housing work when it's so broken. And so we've kept our pricing at a reasonable level. So this is about families saving significant amounts of money every year because they live in a house that has no energy bills, that was built reasonably and at a faster pace. And then we decided we aren't just going to build these ourselves. We're not going to be a design build firm or a construction firm, and we're not going to scale that way. Let's do this in a way that we work with existing builders and make the impact 10 times what it would have been if we were doing it ourselves, or 50 times the impact if we were trying to do it ourselves. Make this a product that other people can use and build with, because they're all struggling with these 6-person businesses and how to keep up with changing technology. They're there, they're ready to build. It's almost like we thought of them like the Uber drivers. They're there, they've got a driver's license in a car, we just need to pair them with somebody who needs a ride. These builders want to do what's right, they just need a better system to build with, and so that's the way we've decided to scale. And then we decided to leave Kansas City and come to the most challenging regulatory climate and housing market in the country, because, that makes a lot of sense. But what we knew was there's a lot of regulation impending towards the net zero. So because we were already solving that problem, we knew this was our market. And so that's sort of what got us to apply for Y Combinator. We got in, moved out here 2 years ago, and have been focused on the West Coast market. So we had to retool things a little bit for this climate and this housing market pricing. But those leaps, those thinking bigger, not staying settled where you were, but pushing to the extreme, is what's allowed this to take on new legs. The other thing I want to talk about is some of you are probably solving two-sided problems like we do. This isn't the standard problem of, I've got a product that I think should exist, now how am I going to find my target audience? Because that's typical. This is problems where solving something actually just leads to more problems, and you have to solve all of them at once. So for us, that is to build a better home for homeowners, we had to solve a lot of problems for builders, and I've already gone into that a little bit. But it's balancing those two and figuring out how to get both things resolved in tandem. I don't know if y'all ever played with one of these as a kid. Usually it's like a little bear or monkey. You pull on either string one at a time, and you're able to make this toy climb up the string, and in this case, the rocket gets to the moon. We're talking about moonshots, going bigger with these problems. For us, those two elements that we have to pull on is getting this to the clients in a way that homeowners want it, and solving problems for builders in a way that they're willing to build it. And if you've ever played with one of these, you know if you pull both at the same time, everything stalls out. It goes nowhere. And if you let go, everything falls to the ground. And I think that that's been a lesson that we've learned is you do want to take the moonshot, but you also have to build the structure and the goals along the way that get you there. So for us, we developed this whole system around a core technology designed as a platform. And the IP is in the design platform. So this really complicated system of parts that goes together very simply. And it's a lot harder under the surface than it looks like, you know, that calm duck on the pond with the feet paddling like crazy underneath. But the simplest things are the hardest to achieve. And so we've built in, you know, design for manufacturing. This thing goes together very quickly. We can resolve a lot of issues in supply chain, which is a big part of what plagues the construction industry. Build sustainability in from day one so it's not something people cut. Design around the materials we're using. If it's a 4x8 sheet, we're going to design on a 4x8 module so we're wasting less. And then develop our tools along the way. So we're using drones to do scans of sites, and we're doing parametric modeling of all of our buildings and things that make sense in our industry but also advance our product so that it's repeatable, which brings the price down for people and makes it easier on the builders. So they're essentially assembling giant Legos by the time our kit hits the site. Everything, you know, indexes, goes together, is pre-cut on CNC machines. So we're trying to design out error, and that creates the value prop for builders. So they're not dealing with client changes halfway down the road. They're not facing material shortages. They're all right with these labor shortages and having unskilled labor who can put together Legos without being able to read plans. A lot of the problems that are systemic in the industry are resolved because we're slowly solving both sides of this equation. Another concept is to zoom in very close to the details of your project, but also zoom out and don't lose sight of that big picture. And I think this is something designers are especially good at, is we can hold all these variables in our head, all these eventualities, and if this comes through, then we can systematize around that. But if it doesn't, we're going to go this direction. That's a lot of what we do on a daily basis. I think, you know, a good example of that is our zeroBOX. So this is essentially, we call it the engine for the home. This is the 6 to 7 costliest trades on a job site in a plug-and-play appliance. So this is how we go together quickly, how we reduce the labor shortage impact on a home, and how we get higher grade systems into the home without any complication with the local trades. And so for us, this is really great in an acre home. And if we were zoomed in, and there's a lot of zooming in on this thing, we would miss the fact that by zooming out, this is actually really usable for multifamily residential projects. We can sell this to developers and have a revenue stream that keeps Acre going. So when you're thinking about this as a startup, zooming in and out constantly is what helps you build a better business model. I'd say another thing that we zoomed in on really closely early on was the net zero. We were really motivated by the net zero, but by listening to our customers and zooming out and being willing to be wrong about that, not completely wrong, everyone loves it, but it's kind of like the cherry on top. What they're really motivated by is beautiful design. And we undervalued that, and I think that's a mistake we shouldn't make, is the power of design and keeping that for. I also think one of the most important things you have to keep zoomed out on is your why, and why you're doing this in the first place. And are you building something that matters in the world and uses your talents to their best effect? I mean, designers are the one thing that AI hasn't really been able to replace yet. And there's a reason for that. And so we ought to be focusing our attention on things that matter. So, October 8th, the largest fire disaster in U.S. history hit the North Bay. And our web traffic on October 9th, we saw this huge shift where everything had been like on desktop and laptop before that was going to mobile, and we were trying to get our arms around what's happening. We figured out everybody's laptops just burned up in this fire, and nobody the day before that was dreaming of a new home. Now they're all trying to figure out how to build the most complex thing you can build on their phone and find a resource to get back into a home as soon as they can. And if we hadn't been focused on a really big picture and not afraid to take on the complexities of these multi-sided problems and doing something we were really passionate about, we wouldn't have been ready on October 9th for all those calls. But as it stands, we actually think that we saw this problem ahead of its time, that prefab is what the world needs. This is the way to get housing to be affordable, to be predictable, to solve for labor shortages, and there's no better time than right now in the rebuild to show the merits of this kind of design. And so we were here and ready to solve that problem. And so now we're breaking ground on our first home back in Coffey Park, which is the lower income side of what burned in Santa Rosa. And that's where we're hitting $291 a square foot. So it's making a huge impact on real people that we have gone about this design challenge in a unique way. And that's the power that design has, and that's our why. So thank you.